Hi there, welcome to the More Sibyl podcast. This is a podcast for Blacks, Asians, and those who love them. I am Mo, and I am your host, ready to spark your curiosity as I take you on this adventurous ride of exploring cultures through the stories of my guests from all over the world. On this show, we get really personal, discussing salient issues that are relevant to our contemporary age and also building community around them. As our guests exercise courage and vulnerability in sharing their life's experiences, we hope that in turn you are inspired by them and that you get the courage needed to set your own stories free. Enjoy the ride, and thank you so much for listening. Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. This is Mo and
Ayomide.
Yay, finally. Oh, we have had quite the morning, guys. You have no idea. We've had a guest who has the patience of Job, because we've had a lot of technical issues ranging from my operating system to Ayomide's epileptic network. I mean, what are the odds of those two things happening on a Saturday? But, when it rains, it pours. Today on the show, we have Chioma Nwokolo. I met her in secondary school, best believe it. This is dating back to about many years ago. I'm not going to say exactly where, but we go a long way. And I think Chioma is just one of those people. I have her on Facebook. I don't think we've talked since we left secondary school. She was actually a year my junior in secondary school. But so I haven't picked up the phone to talk to her, but we've had each other on Facebook and I see what she does. You know how you just have this feeling that you're close to somebody on Facebook, but you don't really talk to them. And I know with me recently sharing more about our daughter, Arife, she's one of the online aunties and she's always, excited to see pictures of Arife. So recently we got into a conversation and she was like, I want to see more of her pictures. And then we got talking about her work, what she's up to. And I'm like, I need to bring you on the podcast. You've got some, really interesting stuff going on. So a quick introduction about her. We both went to secondary school together. She studied BSc Economics from University of Abuja and a postgraduate education degree from Nigerian Teachers Institute in Kaduna. She's a registered teacher with Teachers Registration Council, Montessori trained, and has a master's in public administration. She was fully active in the classroom from 2011 to 2019, and she's taught a variety of learners from playgroup to grade 5, neurotypical and children with special needs. She works with children on the autism spectrum, and currently she's working in a government agency, but still dedicates time to work with kids on the spectrum, helps develop, individual educational plans, IEPs, and recommend to parents methods to help their kids. And she does this on a freelance level. Everyone, please join us in welcoming Ms. Chioma Nwokolo to the podcast. Hey, Chioma.
Oh, hi everyone. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for sticking through all of the network issues we've had. You're just a fantastic guest.
Oh, thank you.
Can you just tell us a little bit about what growing up was like for you? Because I know you grew up in Lagos, but then you're not living in Lagos anymore. Just tell us how growing up was like for you and how you found yourself in Abuja eventually.
All right. So growing up in Lagos was really hectic. It was really noisy. Lagos is really crazy. Because we live at the downtown of Lagos, you wake up with all the noise in the morning. And growing up, being that we went to the same secondary school in a very calm environment, I felt Lagos wasn't it for me because it doesn't suit my personality. I like quiet. I like privacy. And secondly, Lagos had the wrong ideas of what I wanted to do with my life in the future. We had a lot of teenage pregnancies going around on the streets. This one is dating that person. But I wanted more. I wanted to go to school. So I left Lagos 2004 to Jos because I just nearly gained admission into University of Jos then. On getting to Jos was too cold. When you're coming from a climate that is too hot to a climate that is too cold, the transition, it was crazy. Like, I couldn't cope with the cold. With the fact that I'm asthmatic, I couldn't breathe. I had nasal bleeding. I had lots of things going on elsewise. So I spoke to my parents and I was like, Dad, Mom, just is not it. And they said, okay, fine and good. Abuja's weather is calmer, is nice. I think you would prefer Abuja to that. So I moved to Abuja and I wrote JAM. I got the admission that year, and so ever since then I've been in Abuja. Though I visit Lagos from time to time, but it's not my favorite part of the world right now. Yeah.
I mean, I'm a proud Lagosian, ultra true. I'm actually from Lagos, so as you were talking, I'm like, where is the lie though? You know, it's like you have that wayward uncle, but you don't want somebody else talking about your wayward uncle, you know. So
Yeah.
we get it. A lot of us from Lagos and who live in Lagos, we don't have a choice but to just love her. She's such a beautiful mess. And I grew up like you know, in a very boisterous part of Lagos. I grew up in Chioma Nwokolo, by the way, which, you know, had its own sound. I think I kind of sometimes I actually miss those noise, believe it or not. I think because I live in a place that is a totally different setup. Like here it's so quiet. I'll give to just hear, you know, somebody banging on the gate or hawking their goods in the morning, hot bread, soft bread. You know? Anyways, so it's good to kind of hear just your experience in Lagos, and I think the beauty about Nigeria is you tend to find what really works for you. And not everybody has that luxury. Not everybody has that luxury to like move. So I'm glad you find what's working for you. So you went to Oyo, right? And I've had Olivia and Kendi here. I've had Kelechi here talking about the experiences in Oyo. Can you just walk us through your, like, what Oyo was like for you, and how would you say Oyo has impacted the woman you are today? For context, those who don't know what I'm talking about Oyo, we all went to a boarding school, Federal Government Girls College Oyo. Oyo is one of the southwestern states in Nigeria, and being in the boarding school means that you're holed up with other girls. It was a single sex school, so all girls for the next 5 to 6 years, which was quite an experience. So can you just tell us in quick words, like, you know, how Oyo was like for you, and how do you think it's informed your process to date?
Okay, for me, FGGC Oyo, it will forever be home to me. It actually molded me into the woman I was. But starting off there, we all went to school quite early. So getting to Oyo, adapting, number one was the
Now, how old were you? I was 9 when I got to Oyo.
I was like 8 thereabouts. I was still bedwetting. I bedwetted all through my junior class till I
Oh, no.
I was still busy. It did not even wait for me to be able to control my bladder before sending me off to that.
The trauma. No, I can't even think of sending Arife like 5 years from now to a boarding house. No. Yeah.
No. I was like, I'll bedwet. I'll wake up very early in the morning. I'll roll my mattress.
Yeah, and then go and dry it up.
They now stole my mattress.
Oh, no.
They now stole my mattress. I was sleeping on a bunk without mattress.
Oh, my gosh.
Until my mom visited, I went to the principal's house. I don't know what my mother told the principal, but she came back. She asked the driver to put a mattress in his car and take it to the hostel for me.
The principal? Babaniji.
Honestly.
Babaniji. Wow.
True.
Wow.
They took mattress to me for me to the hostel. It was crazy. It was crazy. And, you know, I learned how to eat fast. I've always been a picky eater. But when I went to Oyo, I learned how to eat fast. And now I don't know how to eat slow anymore.
That's
you eat
it
hot
and fast.
You know, and fast before the count of 10.
I can even eat running. I can eat running. They give me food because they are chasing you.
Before the count of 10, the plate is empty.
It's empty. Jeez.
There we go. And Funny enough, I learned the Yoruba language there. I learned
Really? Did you speak it?
language.
Did you speak it?
I once I speak it. Once.
But you can hear.
Perfect.
They can't sell you.
They can't sell me. Even without the whole EP. Before you start rolling the EP for me, I will finish it for you. It helped me develop the love for amala and abula. That's my best meal.
Really?
Till date.
It's funny for you because I know a lot of my Igbo friends don't like amala. They don't like the look of amala.
I love amala with abula and a buffet with awara. Oh shit. No. And I love the people. I made most friends there. We're still friends till date. I think majority of my friends stream back from secondary school. I'm not in contact with any of my schoolmates in the university, but that of my secondary school, Oyo gave me sisterhood. Oyo gave me friendship. Oyo built confidence for me. It built confidence for me. And there are some things I do now. My mom isn't shocked anymore. She'll be like, "Oh, you went to FGGC Oyo."
Like what? I'm curious to know, like what?
Okay, like when we're back at school, you know this thing that they do for SS3 students? The school writes to your parents. Then one Monday morning, they tell all of you to march to the hall. And we went to the hall that morning, and we started seeing our parents there. Apparently, they told our parents in the letter that we were not attending classes. Some people were scaling school fence. Some people were climbing mango trees. Some students, their parents will leave them in the park. Instead of coming to school, they go to their boyfriend's house. They resume school 2 weeks after resumption date. And I got there and they kept talking and talking and talking. So when they finished talking, they said, "Does any student want to say anything?" And I raised up my hand, and man, that incident, anybody in my set can always remember that incident. I raised up my hand and I came out and they said, "What do I want to say?" And I said, actually, that this thing is a triangular problem. It streams from the parents, the students, and the teachers. The parents, you don't even come to visit us. Okay, now that I'm talking, Mr. Nwokolo, stand up. Where are you? I was referring to my father because my father never visited me in school. He only dropped me off. And that is all. It's my mom that keeps coming.
That was my father too. He came twice, when I started and when I left. Yeah.
Yes, that is the only time he comes. So, Mr. Nwokolo, stand up. And all the parents turned back. And I did not know my mom was there. I thought maybe they missed my house when they went to share the letter. And my mom just said, "Chioma," and she waved at me. I was like that. Oh, you see, it's only my mom that is because I was about disgracing my mom. And like from there, we were able to, I think the meeting went a long way because we had lots of teachers. Instead of teaching, they tell you you're supposed to be in your husband's house by this age. What are you doing in school? Your mates are getting married. Your mates are getting pregnant. And my economics teacher kept walking me out of the class every time we had economics. That was why I studied economics in the university. I told him to his face, "Sir, I'm going to teach your children economics." So I had to read my essential economics from back to back. I had to sit for WAEC without having a teacher guide me or teach me economics. I had to pass economics. I had to read economics in the university because I felt I had a point to prove to my teacher. But at the end of the day, did I really have a point to prove to him? I don't know. I was just doing it for me at the end of the day.
Wow. So all your confidence, the language, I think all in all, it's just, in addition to just some of the soft skills you develop and you need to have in life, it's also like cultural patience and understanding. Because the beauty about those unity schools is that they bring kids from all over the country into a different geopolitical zone that they're used to. And then you mix with people. It's why for me, wherever you're from in Nigeria or anywhere you're from in the world, I can still find something to talk to you about. I don't see people like, oh, we can't talk to this group of people. Because Oyo just taught you that you can actually get along with most people as long as you can find a commonality, a common ground of conversations.
There was lots of diversity from different background, different homes, different social mix. You'd see stepsisters, one is a Muslim, the other one is a Christian, and you just, wow. It teaches you tolerance, religious tolerance. You'll be able to tolerate. You know when they are fasting. You know, in fact, if your bunkmate is a Muslim and it's time for Sari, you actually wake them up. Yourself, like, so that they don't miss their food. So it teaches you love too. Because I still got my friends from Oyo and we talk like every day. So it gives you this sense of belonging.
Okay.
So, just thanks for sharing all of that stuff about the school and the sort of the impact it had on you. I'm not sure if I suspect you probably answered this a bit in your talk, but I was wondering what do you think would help for the Nigerian educational system that could have been better? I don't know if you spoke to that already in well, actually, no, let me just, I'm assuming some of what you said speaks to it already, but if you could go into a bit more detail, like just from your experience, what do you think could be different or could be better about how the system works? For the leader, I'd like to say back in the day.
All right. So for the educational sector, what does it take to work? All right. You know that in Nigeria, apart from the government schools that are being run by the government, we have predominant like private schools, most private schools. So let me start from the government schools to the private schools. Now, for the government schools, we have situations where you know that getting teachers into school now, majorly employment process in Nigeria is who you know, no longer passion, no longer your drive or what you want. So most time people actually take this teaching field for it's actually where you sit and wait before the next best job comes in. So a local government can afford to put in his people that are not well qualified for that job there, because it's based on who you know, why they wait for a better thing to come by. Now, those who have the passion, who are purpose driven, are not even into that job at that period. You understand? So what the government can actually do is that first, for people that are really passionate about the job, get them there. Not teachers that, okay, when I was doing youth service, I served in a place where the teachers were sleeping with all their female students. And it's a boarding school. Yes. Oh. The girls are supposed to be in the hostel, but instead the girls are in the teacher's house, in the staff quarters. The principal is going to look and turn the other way. Why? Because of the person that actually gave this teacher the job. So what is the supervisory council doing about it? The inspectorate, they'll say that they are doing inspections. They go to the school. The day that you're doing inspection, you inform the school before coming. The school, they will rearrange themselves before you even get there. At times, they are too busy and they are busy chasing the brown envelope. So you see that it's just covered with lots of mess, lots of corruption. Now, even if the government is doing all it can do, parents these days are not even helping the educational sector. A child will want to sit for WAEC, the parent is asking for the miracle center. Parents are asking for where they can just write and pass immediately. So it has to be, it's not just the government, it's an everybody's thing. It's an everybody's thing. Because those in government, we're also the citizens, they're also the parents. If you don't have good citizenship, you don't have a good government. they all move from citizenship into government. So if the government wants to fix the educational sector, they should know that a lot needs to go into play. A lot needs to be done. And most people in this government, they also have private schools too. So why will I even get the government school working when my school is going to suffer, which is a private school? You understand?
Yeah.
So it takes a whole community. It takes a whole people. It takes Nigerians. It takes all of us. If we're going to fix education sector, it takes all of us. So it's not something that is the government. It's not just for the government. Let's not just leave it for the government alone. It takes all of it. I hope I've been able to answer that question.
Yeah, thanks for that. But yeah, I mean, you're onto something in the fact that it does take change to happen on a sort of mass level. Although normally I would still argue that you still need a leader to drive that, because like historically humans never change as a group just like that. Somebody has to drive it. And so there's nowhere, as far as I'm aware, where everybody just decided to change without somebody leading.
Yeah, true. It has to have a driver first before everybody catch into the flow and do it. It's quite true. And I think it now boils down to the person that is going to do it, because it's actually situations that bring about a change. It's actually situations that make one person that would sit and be like, oh, we need this change, especially in the academic sector. But now, let's not forget, our country is a kind of, that's why I keep saying this country is who you know. You find out that the person that they even make the Minister of Education is not even an educationist in the first place. The person doesn't know the nitty-gritty of being in the school. You following me, Dr. Ayomide, right? So when the person has not been there before, how would the person know about the decay in the educational sector? That's why I say it all depends. And when you go to school, you have parent-teachers association everywhere, scattered all around. These are supposed to be the change drivers. The teachers are supposed to associate with the school and tell the school what they want, the expectations they have for their children per term. It could take just one parent. I notice my child doesn't read. My child has difficulty in reading. My child is 6 and can't make the alphabet sound, and my child is 3. So what have you been doing to teach the child? So they have the forum of the Parent Teachers Association, who is supposed to be the community drivers. As I say, it takes all of us. It takes all the parents in that PTA to effect the change they really want to see, to bring about the change in there. Because if one school is doing it right, the next school will want to know what is going on in that school. Before you know, it actually migrates. It starts from one before it could go to all. So that is just it for me.
I mean, even adding to that frustration is currently now, I think ASO has been on strike. ASO, for those who don't know, is the Association of Universities in Nigeria, and they've been on strike since February. So we are coming up to like about how many months is that? 8 months, as academic staff union of university.
Senior university something.
Academic staff union. I think academic staff union of universities, right? And what they do is that they are really responsible for running.
You're right.
Right?
Yes, you're correct. Go on.
Yeah. So I mean, they hold the university system in a chokehold. They go on strike, then almost like if they sneeze, everybody catches a cold. Every university in Nigeria catches a cold or whatever. Anyways, so students have been on strike. Students have been home for the past since February. They've lost, a whole academic year. And these are like, if you know anything about the demographic of Nigeria, like more than 40% of our demographic are the youth. So you're looking at, healthy working force, just being stuck at home compared to their counterparts. I mean, the educational system as a whole has been lagging behind already. And this has not even been, something to write home about. I think it also adds to what Ayomide was saying. If we need change, we need someone to start it. That top-down approach. So my follow-up question around education will be this. So I know you have, you've made some careers. Before we talk about your current career, I know one of the things you do is you work with children with special needs. By virtue of being a foster parent, I've been able to get a little bit of a glimpse into what it really takes. And I still have no idea, because unless you have a child with special need or somebody you're taking care of, you have no idea what it's really like. So I'm not going to beat my chest and say I know everything. But being a foster parent and, fostering a couple of kids here and there, you get to understand just how having a system in place to equip parents and, set these children in a path that can make them, at least, have something they can walk around with in this world where everybody's moving at such a fast pace. So what got you into working with children with special needs? And what would you say are some of the challenges and, the best part of it?
All right. So my working with children with special needs actually started by accident. I never planned on going into special needs. I had been teaching neurotypical children. That was how I started my educational career. I started teaching children, and along the line, I had to leave the school for a bit. I got a job somewhere, and I went over there to do the job. Now, the job wasn't relating to school. Now, why I needed the time off was I was running my master's degree at that point, and where I was teaching presently wouldn't allow me to go back to school. So I needed to go back to school. So I had to stop the job for a while before I could go back, to finish up school, then go back. So when I finished, I just took a space of 1 year, and on going back, I said, okay, let me not just go back to my other school. There's this school down the road of my house. Let me just go and apply there and see what happens. And I went there, I threw in my CV, they called me, I did interview, and they asked me to see it, and they asked me, do you know what autism is about? That was the first time I was hearing autism. I've never heard autism in my life before. So I was like, well, I don't know about autism, but if you ask me to read about it and come back the next day for this interview, I'll be able to give you a reply. And they were like, oh, there'll be no need for that. They went on to say that the opening is for a teacher that can work with a child with autism. And I was like, okay, let me just give it a try. I don't know what it is, but this sounds like adventure to me. And they're like, okay, start tomorrow. And the next day, I went into the one-on-one classroom, because the child was actually on one-on-one, wasn't mainstreaming into the majority class, so it was on a one-on-one, and I was to sit in and observe. And I sat in, and the girl started self-injurious behavior. I ran out. Like, they had to go and catch me I ran out of the school totally, because I did not know what was going on. I just saw someone biting her hand, eating her head. What was happening here? And I was like, I went back to the supervisor and I was like, you want me to teach math children? Ignorant me. Little did I know. And he was like, okay, I'm going to give you some books. You read about it, you read up autism, and come back to me. Let us have a talk. So he gave me some book. I read about it. I went back to him. And one of the books that really helped me was The Reason Why I Jump. That was one book that opened the door of autism for me. And when I read that book and when I went back to the teacher, to the supervisor, and we kept talking, and I felt, man, I think I love this challenge. I think I like this thing. Let me do it. And for each day I come into class, I resign after the class. It is not a walk in the park. It's not fun. Because now these are children that therapy wasn't, they did not start therapy on time. And you know that with autism, early therapy is key. You have kids going into preteen, teen, and they're with autism, and they've never had therapy before. And being that they cannot communicate their needs, they need to communicate in other ways apart from the proper behavior. So at times I get blows in my eyes. I get my hair being pulled. I get slapped by I call them my kids. But we find, what I found out about these children is that they teach you to teach them. You fall in love with them naturally. You must fall in love. They'll make you love them, and they'll make you. So when they are getting to the point of eating the trauma, by then you would have already impacted the right communication means to them. They already tell you what they want. If they want the lights off, you turn off the lights. If they want the windows closed, you do that. If they want music, if they want you to reduce the tempo of your voice, if their clothes feels itchy or tight, they communicate it before the negative behavior comes up. You understand? So that is what working with autism, how my journey to autism started. I taught nursery school. From nursery school, I became a primary school teacher. I graduated into the primary school class. From the primary school class, I became the miscellaneous teacher. That is the teacher without the classroom. I was only going to the class where there is problem. The classroom where parents report, or the classroom where the parents report a lot, because at times parents give negative feedbacks. The school actually sends me there to remedy the situation. It could be based on the children learning. And being that those schools were actually neurotypical schools, it took me to start working with autistic children to find out that most of the children there would have done better if they have a one-on-one interaction with the teachers. They learn on their own pace. Because not all of them were actually learning on their own pace. And we believe that once 5 children in the classroom can answer you, you believe all the kids can actually understand the concept. So it took me working with autistic children that I have seen some behaviors that I would have loved to, that if I was equipped with the understanding now, I would have been able to advise parents of some kids, like, no man, do you think you want to take your child to the hospital? Do you think you want to see a doctor? Maybe a pediatrician? I'll be able to give better advice. But autism, working with children with autism actually opened my mind. It broadened my scope on the academics section, and it's sad that it's only private entities that actually give therapy to children with autism. You hardly find a specialized class like that in the government school. And it breaks my heart deeply, because you have most children in government schools that are actually autistic, and there's nobody taking care of them. They get bullied, they get pushed, they They get names. People call them witch. You wouldn't want to be in those children's shoes. You wouldn't want to be there because nobody really understands that. Their classroom teacher doesn't even know what autism is all about. Now, I'm going to show you a story of when I started teaching the children on the spectrum. We call autism spectrum because it differs from one person to another person. That's why it's called a spectrum. They can have same symptoms, and also have different symptoms too. So when you know one individual with autism, you only know one. You don't know the rest. That is the thing about autism. So I was going to church and I saw this girl. She was laughing. No, other kids were throwing stones at her, and she was trying to stand up. And I stopped one of the children and I said, "Why are you throwing stones at this girl?" And she said, "She's mad." The other one said that she's a witch. And I looked at this girl. This was like a full-blown case of autism. And the parents, maybe they hid her in the room and she just stumbled to come out that day too. And it was just stones. And man, that actually was a drive for me because anybody can have a child with autism. Anybody can.
So, thanks a lot for sharing that actually, because one of the things we were wanting to talk about and ask you, which you've more or less segued into for us, is what are your thoughts on what someone can do in Nigeria if they have a child with special needs? Which can include autism or other kinds of special needs issues. Because obviously, there are, so I think there's so just from my own experience when I was practicing in Nigeria, there are two kinds of challenges. The first challenge, which I think most people are aware of, is there's not enough resources, right? But the second challenge, which I think is a more almost insidious one, is there are some resources that exist. There's not enough, but there are. But people don't even know the ones that exist, which is a slightly different problem, So yes, there's not enough resources, which you could argue is a problem everywhere to different degrees. So even in the UK and the US, there's still not enough resources either. Obviously to a different level than in Nigeria. But the other challenge, which I found interesting, was people were not even aware of the resources that did exist. And that they could take advantage of. So, what's able to share in the way of resources, but in general that people could do, and then also just in general, sort of how to engage. So you shared something. You said something interesting that if you meet a child with autism, you've only met one child with autism. So obviously there's that uniqueness, but also there are some things that. There are not commonalities per se, but there are some maybe general principles that one can use to guide one in engaging with especially as a parent of such, of a child with special needs. So yeah, just what would you be able to share? So A, resources, and B, sort of general principles for parenting. And then if you still want to get into maybe what other people can do to support as well.
Right. So, number one, you can't know the resource to use or the way to use what to do with a child with autism if you don't even know about autism in the first place. Most times, one of the difficulties, one of the challenges I have with parents that are just newly, that have a child that has been newly diagnosed with autism, is that they don't even know what it is. Maybe at that time it's confusion. You have the confusing part. You have then it goes into anger. Then it goes into It's a roller coaster of emotions for them. So, number one, they need to know that they are not alone. They are not alone. And it's like Africa, especially Nigeria, where we are, we feel that children with special needs, not autism this time around, all forms of special needs, they feel maybe the parents have used them for ritualist purpose. They feel that, it's majorly the sickness of the rich. It doesn't happen to the poor. Maybe the mom was taking multivitamins from supplements when she was pregnant from abroad, so it's an abroad thing. It's not a Nigerian thing. We have the misconception first about what special needs is all about. So it comes to a place of even sensitizing people what autism is all about before you even give them the resources. They need to know what it is. So you've got centers where therapists go on that work with children on special needs. You have them, some have radio programs, some have walk-in hospitals where you can walk in. And one of the banks in Nigeria now actually does autism awareness month. Does it like once in a year?
Is that GTB?
Yeah,
I remember.
GTB.
Yeah, I remember.
And when you're in that gathering, you meet people that are well knowledgeable about this. You meet people that have the resources, and you meet people that can give you the right that can give you information you need, because they say information is power. When you have information about autism, I think like 70% of your problem is as good as solved, because you really need to know the information. You really need to know what your child needs per se. Now I'm talking about the resources. When you're talking about centers that work with children, yes, there are quite a bit centers in Abuja, where I stay. There are quite some centers, but they are very, very expensive. A family where it's only the father that works might not be able to afford them. We have centers charging as much as 500K for therapy for 3 months. And now that might not be the only child.
How much is even living like salary, cost of living already? Yeah.
You understand. So you find out that once the child is that, now what the mothers actually fear, what happens to marriages once a child is being diagnosed with autism or special needs, you find out that 90% there's always a break. There's always a divorce. Because one person wants to put it on another person. Another person wants to put it on another person. And at times the stress of having children with special needs is too much on them. So what I do advise for parents is pause, breathe. You are human. God has got you. So for the resources, for the resources available, yes, there are resources available. It could be expensive, but it can be recreated. That is what I actually help parents do. A parent that has been properly guided by a therapist will know what to do at home. Using the same resources, but maybe a variety of it. Okay, like normally in our Montessori class, you have spooning of grain from cup to cup or from jar to jar. Now you can recreate that in your house. You could just get a tray in your house, put rice there, get some food coloring to pour into the rice to give it some beautiful color. Give your child a spoon for the child to pour the rice from this bowl to this bowl without having a spill. Now, is that not in your house? Have you not taught the child how to turn from right to left? You're teaching the child basically how to write, because when we write, from left to right, you're actually teaching the child already. The child knows that when he makes a mess, he cleans it up. So when the child grows up in life, when the child makes a mess, he bears the consequences. So now that is just teaching, but outside the classroom. Because if you're waiting for money for therapy, because that is a problem that parents actually do, hardly would you see a child start therapy on time in Nigeria, because the knowledge about the problem is not even there. So if the knowledge is there, get a support group. There are support groups everywhere. Even in schools, they have parents with children that have like problems. They sit down and they share information. They talk. Now, some children actually have autism. Some are dyslexic. Some have hyperactive disorder. Some have the attention disorder syndrome. So when you sit down with parents that you and your children have, your children, like both children have common or similar symptoms, you can begin to share information on that. You could begin to talk about food, because food also plays important role into this. What is my child supposed to take? My child is supposed to take gluten-free food. That's why I say information is power. Once you get information, once the parents are willing to get information, the resources are out there. We have internet now. Everything is online. Even if you want to care for your child with autism, on how to button their shirts, you don't even need resources from abroad. You can do your own. Yeah. When I worked with a parent, when I am on recreating for tying of shoelace, what I asked the parents to do was get a cardboard paper because it's strong, laminate it, get a perforator, go to a cyber cafe, perforate round, go to Malam, buy one shoelace. And the child has begun to lace shoes. You don't need all those demo. You just need to align yourself with people that have this information and can just show you. The resources, we have the resources in Nigeria, but they are very, very expensive. Very expensive. Very expensive. It's out there. It's everywhere. But how many people can afford it? And things keep going up every day. So if I would have wanted the educational sector to subsidize, this is something that actually needs subsidy. If they can subsidize fee for therapy, it will go a long way. It's going to boost these children's confidence. It's going to be a breather for the parents. Now you have some children on one-on-one class and they are doing mainstreaming. Mainstreaming means when they go into the bigger classroom. Most time you pay separately for therapy and you pay separately for school fee. Let's say therapy is 500,000, school fee is 300,000. So for this child per 3 months, you're paying 800,000 naira. How much
and
is
that's
your
a
salary?
lot. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
And that might not end up being the only child you have.
That is it. You still have house rent, you still have food, you have medicine.
But I suppose this is one of the challenges that we have, because in Nigeria, where we haven't got... So, again, I often think about in places like here in the UK, for instance, where a lot of this stuff is covered in the NHS. If it wasn't covered by the NHS, most people simply wouldn't be able to afford it. Even ordinary therapy for like adults is booked out sometimes between anywhere from 6 to 18 months. And people still, so if you have depression, for instance, you can't see a therapist for like 12 months, for instance. So you have to just sort of put your depression on ice. And that's here in the UK. Now, obviously, there's private, but then again, you now have the question of how many people can afford private. And then that's the issue. So I suppose this is again one of those problems you have in Nigeria, where because a lot of things are being taken seriously by the government, The only option is private. You can't really ask, private anywhere is never cheap.
It's not cheap.
Not just in Nigeria. It's not cheap anywhere. The problem is the advantage is just that in other places, there are public options.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But even the private you mentioned in Nigeria, it's tied to employment. And not every employer rises up to that level because there's no mandate by the government. I mean, that's the same thing. Even in the US, it's tied, but we have it's tied, but we have Medicaid,
but
we have Medicare.
Government has.
Yes, it's subsidized. They have other ways for people that are not employed. If you meet the particular threshold,
comes down to government. It still comes down to the leadership and what is in place.
Yeah. Because in Nigeria, what we run is just out of pocket model.
It's out of pocket. Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that if government can actually subsidize this, it will go a long way. There's no subsidy for this. It is not even covered in the NHIS. It takes a toll.
It's not on their radar. To be honest,
because autism just became a story which we are not getting enough publicity about it. It's still not out there. Not everybody knows about it. We're still trying to make people talk about it. It's not there, even because at times I feel that if government wants to subsidize anything in education, this should be it. Private wants to make their money. The reason why people start up business is for profit making. As they should,
because it takes a lot of operation. Yes. Because they have huge operational costs in Nigeria, so they have to be profit driven.
So they're
even anywhere else in the world. They're profit driven. I don't blame them.
And there is no government institution that they have school for the blind, they have special school for the deaf, but there is no special school for people with autism. There is none. In the all 36 states of the Federation, there is no special school run by government for children with autism.
Could that also be reflective of how most people don't even believe in autism? Because I remember growing up now, I didn't think about it until much later in my life, maybe about a few years ago. My neighbor had a child who they would lock up. And if I think back now, they were severely autistic, but they would lock that child up. Nobody even knew. She would never talk about, they made it in such a way that they could never talk about this person as a member of their family. And they would lock her up all day long. She would make all kind of noises. And I realized that was autism, but they weren't well equipped. And I don't blame them for doing that. Could that also be reflecting on just how autism and, all those neurodivergent issues, we still don't have that proper public education on just what it's like and how to handle them, and the government might be a reflection of that because they're not putting money into it. And don't get me wrong, what you have to complain about in autism, care and provision of, proper healthcare is the same thing we can complain about other parts of Nigeria's, infrastructure, schools, safety, road, water. Like there's so many issues in that country. Don't get me wrong.
Something that comes to mind is I think about the fact that, when in the 80s, right, there were all these campaigns about ORS, for instance, so for instance, everybody knew about ORS that, if your child is having diarrhea, this is what to do. This is the mixture. It was on the radio. It was on the telly. Later on, there was the whole campaign about malaria, right? Where you understand that, you take medicine, you take paracetamol or whatever. And if after, like everybody, we even still jokingly say, if after 2 days, better, go see your doctor. Right? That's how much, so those were things that, governments took seriously and said, people need to know about this. This is a real problem and they need to be educated. So it's similar. Like if you want, as a nation for people to take something seriously, we know how to do it. We've successfully done it in the past. So clearly the knowledge is there. The question, what is lacking is the will. The taking it seriously and actually doing something about it, because we've seen them do stuff where they've cared, where they've thought it was important, and You know, even when Ebola happened recently, and again with COVID, again, you've seen, you know, the government has in fact actually stepped up. So clearly there's that ability there with all the issues. There's that ability to step up and take action. The question now is, what is it applied to? And what is it not applied to?
Well, I feel that the government actually have their list of priorities because, number one, like I said earlier, people are not really talking about autism. If the way people are talking about, if people talk about autism the way they talk about COVID-19, government would have stepped in. If people talk about autism or special needs the way people talk about Ebola because of its fatality rate, it would have been listened to. If we know the key, we know they put body there. How many people have the autism killed? That is what they ask themselves. It is not contagious now. So why should we make all the whole noise? You understand? So the thing is that people are not really talking about this. People are not really seeing this, that in the nearest future, you would see for every 5 kids you see 2 with special needs. People are not talking about it. And you know something about autism. Autism is not, it's not sickness. You can meet someone with autism and not even know the person has autism.
Oh yeah, it doesn't show on the face. But when you say people are not talking about it, but you are one of the people talking about it. Look at all those friends you said you met, GTB. And I think it still it goes back to the government doing something, because I'm sure people are talking about it. You may not be hearing it.
It's not that much. The publicity is not. There is a way you have this sensitization, you have this publicity. Every nook and cranny of the nation will be hearing about it. It will be like a corona outbreak.
Anyways, there's still a long way to go.
There's a long way.
Yeah. I know right now you've transitioned to a different kind of job that's taking you away from the classroom, but I know that your passion still remains in the classroom. And even before we started recording off script, you were talking about your goal, your dream is to start something. If you could have your one wish granted to you along this line of, autism awareness and providing support for people from low resource countries like ours, what would be your dream? What would that dream look like when it comes true?
Okay. My big dream, the big dream for me is to have a center for autistic children. I would want a boarding and a day for it, where resources will be given at the barest minimum of price, possibly free. It's going to be a NGO. I would want kids to get the therapy they so need. I would want to help onboarding parents with children with special needs. The passion, the goal is to see as many of them being independent. When a child is being independent, the child does not need his or her therapist anymore. They can live on their own. They can function in the society. That is what I want. For autistic children functioning in the society on their own, without help, without anyone around them. They can get a job, be on the job, earn money, and just have a life and a future and a goal. Why I said boarding, most parents with children with autism, the question that actually comes to their hand is, at my demise, what happens to my child? Who cares for this child? That is a big problem. That is a big question. So if I can have a place that the parents can just trust, to be like, oh, there is a place where these children can go and they still get the same care that I give to them. A center where they can trust, not even take advantage of the child to start with, or their ward to start with. A center that they know that would continue when they are gone. Tolani, that is the big dream. That's the goal.
How much is that? Do you have a budget, like, what that's going to look like to get started? Do you have a business plan?
So I don't.
I'm just trying out there in case somebody is listening that wants to support it, because you seem very passionate. So I could see myself throwing money at this project.
I don't know what it's going to cost. Maybe that's why I picked up the job that I picked up, because I actually have a target for myself. And everybody says, Chioma, do a side also. And I'm like, no, there's a dream. There's a vision. There's a vision. Though the Bible says, write it down so that he that sees it can run with it. Yes, there's a vision. I am yet to write it down. I'm yet to because we're talking about acquiring a land, building up structures, making sure that the structures are accident proof, gaining trust from parents, them not feeling that we want to use their children for jazz. That is what
for things like that.
That is what used to reign in this.
Yes, superstitions and all that.
Some people, when they're not paying for help, they're bound to question the help they are getting. You understand? So it's just a beauty.
Yeah. So how about you do this? Why not get a business plan together and let's talk off camera? I have an idea of someone who might be like an angel investor who might be interested in. I can put you through with her, but she's very thorough at what she does. You need a solid business plan, operational costs, how you plan to break, even with, your profit and all that. Let's talk after this. But I think what you have going already, your passion is good enough. If you were to have a center to equip parents, because we know in countries like ours, until the government steps in, but there are things we can do, like you said, information, equipping these parents. Perhaps that can also keep generating the buzz around, autism and special needs. It's such a wide spectrum. Chances are most people listening to this already have children or word who might be, struggling with this. And a little information goes a long way. Now, last question, and probably we're going to end with this. I know you've done a switch in your career. You've pivoted. You now work as an
administrator.
Excuse me. You work as an admin office. I work as an administrator officer at the National Space Research and Development Agency. A little bit of a background is that this is a parastatal under the Federal Ministry of, I think, Science and Technology, and it's based in Lugbe in Abuja. They've it's in cooperation with other countries like China, Ukraine, and Russia. Cops in other languages. It was established in 1999 then by the president Olusegun Obasanjo, and really they wanted to find a place to do like research and development around space science. They have an operational budget then of about $93 million, if I recall, and since then their goal was to have somebody like a Nigerian to launch a
Nigerian satellite.
A rocket, by 2030 to have a rocket launch. And I remember when that news broke, trust Nigerians and their memes now. They're like, what a waste, so there's the Nigeria Comsat 2, there's the Sat 3. But anyways, my question for you is this: why space agency, and what's a day in the life of someone who works in a space research agency?
The space agency is actually a fun place to work in. Really fun. It actually blows your mind. Like everything we talk about, the thing is that everything we talk about, launching a Nigerian satellite on a Nigerian launch pad with a Nigerian astronaut. Yes, the agency is doing everything within its power to see that being attained, and it could be done sooner than everybody really anticipates about. Then a day-to-day life at work, work is really hectic for me. Because we have goals, we have targets. We have for each person, for each department, we have targets you must meet. Because of it's a research and development agency, you have to be up on your toes. You need to know what is going on in the astronomy field part-time. No, I've got some of my colleagues working alongside NASA, providing data for them. I have some of my colleagues monitoring lightning, monitoring the agricultural process of the country. We are in collaboration with lots of federal, with other government agencies on our part. So it's an everyday, being that it's also an institution. We can boast of a university, like we are affiliated to a university where you can read courses in GIS, astronomy, and all that. So for each day, it's loadful of activity. So you wouldn't say there's nothing to do, because if you look at it, 2030 is how many years from now? We don't really have time. There's no time to actually sit around, and we want to actualize, if not everything, majority of what the Nigerian government actually set up the agency for. We want to make a name for ourselves. So, you understand? So, it's basically that.
I was going to say, Chioma, that I found interesting that, on one hand, you're very interested in space, but then on the other hand, you're also interested in autism, which is like inner space. So
she occupies space and water.
Have you been to a planetarium before? Have you had a feel of a
I have
stimulation of being in space?
I haven't actually.
I have.
You see that weightlessness? You see that weightlessness?
Yes, I have.
That is what most children on autism on the spectrum actually feel. That's why most times you see them flap their hands, flapping, running off, because they are trying to stimulate their body. They feel that weightlessness. So you can see the way they interface. So that is just it.
Yeah.
Do you have any plans? I don't know if you do tours or anything like school tours in your office or anything like
museum.
That.
We have a museum.
Wondering if you have any. Yeah, I was wondering if you've had the chance to bring any sort of, class that includes special needs kids.
No, we've not been opportunity to have children with special needs in the museum. Not to my knowledge, though. Most time it's actually the school that actually writes to the agency they want to come over for the tour. Not like we seeking out the children. You understand? So it's actually bringing them over. But I think I'm dying to see 1 or 2 children with autism come in. It's going to be wow. Because you know something about children with autism, they are good with dates, they are good with data. There was one I actually thought she loved math. So by the time you come and giving them dates, they would never forget it. It will be an experience of a lifetime for them.
For them. Final question, I promise with this. So you have a fair understanding of just some of the needs we need, and I'm not trying to be witty with my comments as along children with special needs, and then you also see working in the government facility. I imagine that you see all of the wastage and the redundancy. Do you think like space exploration, especially the commitment to get somebody to the moon or Mars by 2030, do you think that should be a top priority for a country like Nigeria that already has, a lot of challenges in different areas?
Yes, it should be a top priority for Nigeria. Because when you're talking about putting man in space, most time it's not actually about putting man in space. Putting man in space for what? Putting a rocket in space for what? You understand? There are so many things. At times when you put a satellite in space, it could be for security. We have lots of banditry. We have lots of kidnaps. If we've got a satellite that we could trace down wherever the hideout is, it's still saving lives. An autistic child cannot walk out freely if she'll get kidnapped in the next 5 seconds. But if we have a satellite that can actually show GPS, show us the danger there, or if we have a satellite that can even tell us about the climate change and all that, the floods and all that. So it's actually like saving life first. So it's I feel they can work hand in hand. No one is more important than the other. They work together because actually when you're talking about space, you're not talking about just going tourism to Mars and coming back. No. There are a lot of things into space science. There are a lot of things that make up space science. So when you look at it, because when you're talking about space science, you're borrowing into other fields, you're borrowing in from agriculture, you're borrowing in from security, you're borrowing in from even the schools. On which land will they be built on? How arid is the land? How erosion free is the land? You get that from all the satellites you need and all that. So even the location of the place you want to build the school, you need satellites to actually tell you where it is. So for space science, they work very closely.
You know what? Even as you're talking about it, to be fair, I think if we did it right, scientific discoveries, uniting the nation, because I recall, I wasn't born then, but from historical records, 1963 was one of the greatest years for America, because regardless of your political lines, everybody was united. And JFK then, the then president, they funded, that was when they tried to, get man on the moon and whatnot. But everybody was excited, even when, he made that first step, this is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But anyways, it kind of united the country. And I would like that for Nigeria, because we're in a space where this time around we're kind of fragmented with, divided by geopolitical lines of tribes and religion. Perhaps one thing that can unite us, and again, it puts Nigeria in the forefront. Yeah. We've conquered in entertainment with Amuson Toby, breaking her own world record. Maybe there's another feather to add to our heart of, achievements to be excited about, and perhaps even really put that greatness in Nigeria, because with space exploration, it drives innovation. There's a technology, it drives, collaboration. And if we can make that successful, maybe we can borrow that templates and improve other sectors, of the country. But that's all from me. Chioma, you have been so patient with us. Thanks for sticking through all of the technical issues we had, from Squadcast to Squadcast back to Zoom, and then Squadcast back to Zoom, and your passion didn't win as you were talking about things you were interested in, and now we've lost our midday. But I want to say thank you, and I owe you lunch. I really owe you lunch. So I would text you to set that up. I owe you lunch for your patience. I think, and I wish you all the best in all of your endeavors, be it space or even creating space. For kids with and their parents and those who love them with special needs. Again, let's chat afterwards to talk about your business plan and just what that would look like. I think you've got something going on as best as we can. I would like to encourage you, even putting you through somebody who can potentially make that dream come through for you. On behalf of everyone on the show, I want to say thank you so much. And if there are other times you'd like to come back on the show to really talk about your other project or even continue on in this conversation, we hope you consider coming back again. And we promise by then we won't have all the snafu we had today with our technology. So this is why Nigerian is that space exploration. Maybe technology will be better all around the world.
I said, you said promise the network will be better. I was just thinking, let's better not make promises we can't keep.
I'm Nigerian. We always talk about checks that we can never cash. That's Nigerian. In any event, Chioma, thank you so much. Appreciate your time today on the show. All right, guys, this has been the show with Mo, and we hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to catch up another episode of the podcast, and stay safe, everyone. All right, Chioma, your episode.